I had no sort of contact with the boys because I had him blocked for 8 months. I went to the hospital because I was bleeding a week before he left.
Oh, he lying.
Miss Delafuente, what are your children's names that are in this case?
Raul Antonio de la Fuente and Avan Ismael de la Fuente.
And how old is Raul?
Raul is a year, fixing to be 2, and Avan is 5 months.
And who is their father?
Aaron de la Fuente?
Are you and Mr. Delafuente married?
Yes.
When did you get married?
March 29, 2019.
Has Mr. Delafuente had contact with his children recently?
Yes, since November.
So November 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was his contact with the children prior to November 2024?
He had no sort of contact with the boys because I had him blocked for 8 months.
And why was he blocked?
He was blocked because when he left in February of 2024, and he was threatening me to call ICE, and he was very violent with me. And I did not want my kids around that environment. So that's the reason why he was blocked.
Okay, you said he was violent. What did he do?
When I was pregnant with Raul and Avan, he pushed me. When I was pregnant with Avan, I went to the hospital because I was bleeding a week before he left.
Was that because of
Yes.
something violent that happened because he pushed you?
Yes.
Oh, he lying.
What kind of visitation are you requesting that Mr. Delafuente have with the boys?
I would like supervised visits here at home with his parents being present, and I can leave the home while he's here.
So you live with his parents?
Yes, ma'am.
Asia, did we lose somebody?
It looks like
We lost the
Marshall.
judge. And let me just refresh. Ms. Delafuente, you were saying that you live with Mr. Delafuente's parents?
Yes, ma'am. I've been here since February of 2024. That's when he left me, and I was pregnant at that time, and I have no sort of money, and his parents were the ones that were there to help me.
Okay, and so his parents are the people you would want to supervise the visits?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anybody else you would be comfortable supervising the visits?
Yes, Sonia Flores.
And who is Miss Flores?
That is his aunt.
And where would you want the visits to take place?
They could take place here at Mark and Sarah's home, and I can just leave the home when he comes visits.
Does Mr. Delafuente have a good relationship with his parents?
Yes, ma'am.
How long would you want these supervised visits to go on?
Can they be every other weekend for a day? For at least 5 hours?
Okay, and do you want him to always have supervised visits, or do you see a time?
No, I would just like supervised visits up until he gets used to the boys and the boys get used to him, and then from there, when he has his own place, then I would be okay with the boys going to stay with him.
Okay, so the violence that you described, you're only concerned about that towards yourself?
Yes.
Okay, he's never been violent with the boys?
No, but
Okay.
I have a concern. He likes to drink and do drugs, and that's also why I'm requesting supervised visits, because I don't want the boys to go over there while he's drinking, because he took Raul with him in February, and also the big reason why I blocked him after that and I didn't let him see Raul was because that weekend he went out partying and he posted it on Snapchat, and I didn't know where my son was at.
Do you believe that you and Mr. Delafuente can make co-parenting decisions for your sons?
Yes, eventually.
Do you know where Mr. Delafuente works?
No.
And how are the children covered under insurance?
They have Medicaid through the state of Texas.
Do you have access to put them on a different insurance at a reasonable cost?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Has Mr. De La Fuente, since the boys were born, or let's do this shorter. Okay. You said he left February 2024.
Yes.
Has he provided you any
No,
support?
he only sent $90 the month of February, plus an additional $12 and 30 cents to take Raul to a doctor's appointment. And he did buy clothes, but this was like in July.
Do you have any idea how much those clothes cost?
I have no idea, probably a good $200, $300, I would say.
So would it be helpful if this court ordered him to pay back child support, retroactive child support?
Yes, I would like back pay starting from February since he left.
Are you asking that this court place what's called a non-disclosure on your case so that your address, telephone number, place of employment, now or in the future would be kept private in the order?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And both boys have the last name of De La Fuente. Do you want him to stay like that?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. De La Fuente, do you have any questions of Miss De La Fuente? They need to be in the form of a question. You'll get the opportunity to testify in a few moments, but do you have any questions of Miss De La Fuente?
I mean, I just, what she says, she's lied, but I mean,
Okay, wait a second. Wait, this is your opportunity to ask her questions. You can make
Oh,
statements in a few minutes.
I
Do you
just
have
want to
any
ask her
questions?
why do I need supervised visits when I had my son not too long ago with me in Pecos and it didn't bother her at all. I had him in
Okay,
Pecos
hold
with
on.
me at,
Let her answer the question. Miss De La Fuente?
Yes, ever since he took Raul in November, but ever since then, him and his girlfriend have been real rocky. And I don't want my son around his girlfriend because they're always on and off, and he's always posting their drama on Facebook. And ever since then, he's been drinking heavily and consuming drugs. And I don't want my son around that.
oh my gosh.
Any other questions, Mr. De La Fuente?
What makes her think that I'm doing drugs?
I just know that you're doing drugs. That's why I would like to request a hair follicle drug test. Because I want my kids to be safe when they're around you.
Any other questions?
And how would I know my sons would be safe when they go visit her parents? Because I know immigration is always over there where her parents live. And how do I know that one day they're just not all gonna get picked up and where my son's gonna be headed to?
When we go to my parents, I stay at home and I don't leave. And I'm always with the boys. I don't leave them anywhere.
Anything else, Mr. De La Fuente?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Trevino.
Yes, I will call Mr. De La Fuente.
Mr. De La Fuente, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can lower your hand. You may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, what is your full name?
Aaron Ray de la Fuente.
And are you the father of Raul and Avan?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you and Miss De La Fuente been married since March 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
And your boys were born in 2013 and 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you, what kind of visitation are you wanting with your boys?
I mean, just, I'm just every other weekend. I mean, I'm just asking, to let me have them Fridays and Saturdays every other weekend, and then I could take them back Sunday. I mean, that's the reason I moved closer. So, she's not having to drive 2.5 hours or 2 hours and me 2 hours just to meet up somewhere. And also that I could be closer to my sons. Um, I mean, every other weekend, like she said, it's fine with me. I'm just, I don't think I need provision visitation because why would I put harm to my sons? Like, I don't understand how she's saying that I will put harm my sons when I wouldn't. They're my kids.
Okay, what city do you live in now?
I live in Brownfield, Texas.
How long have you lived in Brownfield?
I just moved here about a week and a half ago, I want to say.
And do you have a house, an apartment? Where do
Yes,
you
ma'am.
live?
It's a house. The address is 905 South Pecos Street.
And who lives in that house with you?
It's just me and my sister. Well, I actually moved in with my sister. It's her house, but I live here with her and my niece and my nephew.
Okay, does your girlfriend live there as well?
No, ma'am.
How long do you plan on living with your sister?
Just till I get I'm waiting for this job to give me my background check so that way I can start working with them. But once I get enough money, I'm planning to get my own little place here.
And where is the job that you're applying for?
It's in Lubbock, Texas, called Tech. Uh, it's a plumbing job, and but they
So,
work out of Lubbock, Brownfield, Denver City, Seminole.
okay. And how much does that job pay hourly?
The starting pay for me would be anywhere from 16 to 17 an hour.
When you were working in Pecos, how long were you at that job in Pecos?
I want to say for about 7 to 8 months, I worked there for the city of Pecos.
And how much was the city paying you per
18
hour?
and $18 an hour.
Before that job, where did you work?
I was working for Jomar, high voltage out of Lubbock.
And how much did you make there per hour?
21.
Have you provided Mrs. Delafuente with any money or items
Uh,
for the boys?
no, ma'am. I provided for her a house for her to live at while I was still working at Jomar. She had a house. I was paying for the car. Um, and Raulito was already born. He was there, and then, well, I found out some stuff, so I left her. And when I left her, she was when I left her, she was texting me because I was still working at Jomar, and she was texting me, and I have proof on the messages and everything, saying that she was gonna harm herself and she was gonna kill herself, and that she needed me to go pick up Raulito because she has been drinking and she wasn't in good condition to take care of him, and that she was just gonna go ahead and kill herself and the baby, which is Avan. Um, so I left. I had to leave work that day. I can't remember exactly what date it was, but I do have messages, screenshots of everything she had said. So I left work. I drove from Midland back to Florida, and I went and picked him up. And when I had him, she had stated that I had went out to a bar. Or I had him, but I was at a gender reveal gathering with my
Okay,
son.
And so let's talk a little bit about the violence that Miss Delafuente says happened between the two of you. Did you push her?
No, ma'am. Raulito, I wasn't even around because I was working out of state. I was working in Louisiana and Georgia and Oklahoma. Majority of the time she was pregnant. I I got laid off from that job maybe a month or two before she had him, and then Adan, while she was pregnant with Adan, I wasn't even around for the pregnancy, so I don't understand how I I remember her saying with Raulito that she went to the hospital, but I never pushed her. She had called me when I was at my uncle's house saying that she had slipped in the restroom and fell, and my mom had took her to the hospital.
Okay, and then did you go to the hospital?
No, ma'am, because I was at my uncle's uh helping him and stuff, and also I was drinking, so I wasn't gonna drink and drive with her or anything. So my mom did take her for me because I was drinking and I wasn't gonna drink and drive.
Did you ever try to take any legal action when you were worried that she may harm herself or your child?
Yes, ma'am. I went and I well, like when she was sending me those messages, I went and she wouldn't give me him. So I had told her like, if you don't give me him, then I'm just gonna call the cops. Like I'll show the cops what you're saying. Like I mean, you're saying you're drunk and you're gonna kill yourself, and he's better off with me. And so fine. So I had to call the cops. I did call the Florida Sheriff's Department, and they did send two officers over there. And she went ahead and gave them to me, and then she took off. And when she took off, I didn't want her to get in trouble. I didn't want her, So I said, "Well, you just give them to me, leave, and I'll just tell them everything's okay. I don't want you getting in trouble. Like, there's no reason for you to get in trouble." I said, I said, let me take them. Let me let you get your mind straight. Let me let you, you know, calm down or whatever. Like, and she agreed. And so I took my son. And when I took him, well, I had him for about a week over there. And she had texted me and we had came to an agreement that we were just going to co-parent, that she's just going to move on, and that she's okay with me having him every other weekend, or she'll have him a week and then I'll have him a week. So I thought she agreed to it. So when I met her in La Misa to give her back that Sunday, as soon as I gave him back, she blocked me. She on everything. She had my parents not let she didn't let my parents let me know where she was at or my son. She was telling my family if they told me where she was at and where my son was, that they were no longer allowed to see my son. So a bunch of my family wouldn't let me know where he was or where she was at, so I could try to provide for him within those 8 9 months that she kept him from me. So, um, and then recently, about a month ago, I would say in December, I ended up going to Florida. I spent like 4 or 5 days there with Daniela, with my parents, and with both of my sons. And not one time did she seem worried about me harming her. Not one time did she see me like me harming my son. Like, cause my son Raulito is already used to me. That's why I don't understand why she's saying she wants them to get used to me. I understand Adan because he's still a baby, but Raulito knows who I am, and he runs up to me when he sees me, and he rather hang out with me like when I'm around.
Okay, and when is the last time you saw Raul?
It was Christmas break. It was December. I think it was the last day was December 26th
And
or
that was
December 20.
2024?
Yes, ma'am.
And how what was that visit like? Did you take him or did you just see
No,
him
ma'am.
somewhere?
I stayed there at the house with them and my parents.
Okay. Do you have car seats for the boys if you were to take them with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And where would they sleep at your sister's house? Would they have their own room?
Yes, I have my own room here, and I have a bassinet, or like not bassinet, playpen for Avan, and then I have a little bed. It's like a toddler bed uh, that Raulito would sleep in.
Do you have health insurance at a reasonable cost that you could put the boys on?
I was trying to put them on insurance when I was working in Pecos, but she had told me that because I had texted her asking her, "Do the boys have insurance?" or and she had told me yes for me not to worry about it. And
Okay.
I was gonna put them on my insurance. I don't no longer have it because I'm not working with them anymore. But as soon as I get this job, uh, I'm willing to put them on my insurance or health plan or whatever.
Okay, so did you hear Miss Delafuente testify that since you all separated February of 2024, that you gave her $90 at one point, $12.30 at another time, and then in July you bought the boys clothes?
Yes, ma'am. I did hear that.
Okay, and is that true?
Uh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Most of
and
it
how
is.
much did you spend on the clothes that you bought in July?
I want to say it was about like 270, almost 300, something like that. It was she kind of got it right. It was almost $300. I don't remember the actual, but it was around there.
Okay. Now, I know you just gave your address here in court, but is there any reason that you would be asking for your address, phone number, email, employer to be private in this order?
Um, no, ma'am. I mean,
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Delafuente, do you have any questions of Mr. Delafuente?
Yes, I would just like to know if the boys will be safe at your sister's house because your sister smokes weed inside her home around the boys, and her car and her whole house smells like weed.
well, my sister no longer smokes weed. She
Okay,
hasn't smoked weed for about, I want to say, going on a year and a half now. Because she started to go to church. She dedicated her life to God and was baptized. So yes, they would be safe here.
okay. Is there any way that Sanique can get a drug test just to make sure? Because she was on TikTok live a couple of nights ago and she was smoking weed and you were right there next to her. And
Uh, I
also,
don't recall that, but I mean, if that's what you need, then I can. I mean, it's up to her. It's not really up to me. I mean,
and also I do know that y'all like to drink and y'all like to go out to the bars, and that's the reason why, once again, I just want the boys come first and their safety comes first.
and exactly that's my point. As when I have the boys, I've told you before, it's all about the boys. It's nothing about partying. It's nothing about this and that. When I have the boys, they're gonna have my full attention the whole time.
Okay. In December, when you came for those 4 days, you left the 25th because you went out drinking, and the day after that, you went back to Pecos.
I left because we agreed that we weren't gonna work on our marriage. I didn't leave because I was gonna go drink. I was told that if we weren't gonna work things out, then I had to leave the house. So that's why I left. I didn't leave to go drink. I left to go wait on somebody to come pick me up.
Okay. But that whole entire day to spend Christmas with the boys, and you just
Okay, but yeah, we had just talked to my parents about not working things out, and my parents were upset, and everybody plus you were going to my grandma's to open up gifts with some of my cousins that don't even talk to me. So that's why I was like, well, you know what? I spent Christmas. I got to open gifts with my sons. Then I'll let them go open gifts with their cousins. And I left that day because we agreed that we weren't going to work on our marriage and that we are going to get divorced. That's why I left. I didn't leave to go drink. I left because we came to an agreement that our marriage wasn't going to work out and that I had to leave. My parents said, if you're not with Daniela, then you need to leave this house. And that's what I did. And I left back the next day back to Pecos.
Yeah, I have no other questions.
Okay, Ms. Trevino.
No other questions, Your Honor. I rest.
State is rested. That means they have no further evidence, no further testimony. Ms. Delafuente, do you have any further evidence or testimony?
I don't.
Okay, Mr. Delafuente, do you have any further evidence or testimony?
No, ma'am.
All right, close, Ms. Trevino.
Yes, Your Honor, I did do some calculations for the current child support. I did use a gross monthly income of $2,947.67 with a net at $2,462.53 with 25% guidelines for no other children. That is $615.63. So it would round that to $616 a month for current support. And I did use $75 a month for the medical support. For the retroactive child support, I'm not sure if the court wants me to give any numbers on that. I did do a calculation back to February 2024.
Okay, what is your calculation of February 2024?
Giving credit for the amounts that were testified to, the calculation I got was $8,324.70 with a payment of $92 a month.
Okay, all right, Ms. Delafuente, what are you requesting?
I'm okay with that amount.
Anything else?
No, ma'am, just the supervised visits.
All right, Mr. Delafuente, any other requests?
How much did they say a month?
616 was the calculation. Do you have a step down, Ms. Trevino?
I did not, but let me get that. The step down would be $493.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Delafuente?
Um, Regarding to the back pay, I mean, it's not that I didn't want to pay or I didn't want to provide, but I wasn't given the opportunity to.
All right, give me just a second. Okay, I do find that Mr. Delafuente is the father of the children. This is an establishment, but in testimony, it came out that the parties were married prior to the birth of the children. So the children were born of the marriage. I do name Miss Delafuente sole managing conservator of the child with the exclusive right to determine the primary residence of the children, without regard to geographic location. I name Mr. Delafuente possessory conservator of the children. Due to the ages and the testimony, I will order a modified visitation schedule. And I will include an injunction that no alcohol that Mr. or either party should not consume any alcohol 12 hours prior to or during any possession of the children. I'm ordering on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Saturday of each month that Mr. Delafuente should have possession of the children from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Those possessions being supervised in the grandparents' home for 7 periods of possession to get acquainted with both children and have that time with the children in the home and make them feel comfortable. After those 7 visits are completed, it will be the same the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Saturday of the month from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. unsupervised for 7 periods of possession. Once those are completed, It will be 6 p.m. on Friday to 6 p.m. on Saturday for 7 periods of possession. After those are completed, it will go into a standard possession order. I do order a non-disclosure for Miss Delafuente, and I order Ms. Delafuente to maintain health insurance through a government health insurance program. Mr. Delafuente will be ordered to pay $75 per month cash medical beginning February 1st, 2025. Current child support will be set at $616 per month beginning February 1st, 2025. It will step down to $493 per month after a child emancipates. As to retroactive child support, I am ordering $7,500 in retroactive child support and ordering Mr. Delafuente to pay $75 per month towards that judgment beginning February 1st, 2025. Does that address all of the issues, Ms. Trevino?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, court costs will be assessed against Mr. Delafuente to be paid 1 year from today's date. Any party can ask for a new hearing by filing a trial de novo with the Floyd County District Clerk's Office within the next 3 days. It must be in writing. It must specify the portion of my ruling in which a new hearing is being requested, and notice must go out to all of the parties on the case. Ms. Trevino will draft the order, submit it to me for signature, and then copies will go out to each of you. Thank you for being here today. That concludes today's hearing, and you're free to disconnect